And I quote, "I'll be there in a minute. Give me a second."
Time is relative, folks. Time is relative.
Yes. So, hey, cheers to everybody in the chat.
They're a division rival. I don't care how many wins they get. Screw them.
That wasn't the take I was expecting to hear.
I want to gush over watching live Chris Tanev.
I think that we completely underestimate the skill it takes to play defense.
One highlight or several highlights does not a Calder trophy make.
I'm stepping in here. I'm going to be the crotchety old man here. They need to learn patience. They need to understand the tension and everything and the drama.
How dare! Look at this! How is McDavid not getting a penalty?
You guys need to calm down with this, okay? You guys need to calm down with it.
Calmness in Vancouver right now. There's no calmness in Canucks Kingdom right now or Canucks Nation, as the Vancouver Canucks will host their first home playoff game since April 23rd, 2015, as they clinched the playoffs this weekend. And for the first time in 9 years that they'll have a home playoff game. First time in 4 years that they have been in the playoffs. Of course, in the 2020 bubble was the last time. And we're here to talk all about that and a heck of a lot more. Welcome to the Shifts and Pucks podcast. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter as Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com Shifts and Pucks, Twitch.com Shifts and Pucks, and subscribe wherever you get your audio. And we're all together, four of us here on this Easter Monday night. Happy belated Easter. By the way, so happy Ramadan for those who celebrate that, as well as that is also part of the holiday time here. And we will say hello to someone I haven't seen in a while. Tyler, you exist.
Hey, Kev. Yeah, it's good to see you all again. Happy Easter to all of you. And we're in that phase now with the Canucks season to start bracing ourselves for playoff puck. It's going to be something.
It sure is. Sean, how are you?
Good. Yeah, it's happy Easter to those and Ramadan to those who celebrate it, and then happy WrestleMania week for those who celebrate that. And with WrestleMania coming up this weekend, and the Canucks are going to the playoffs. Who would have thunk it?
About time.
Yes. Hello, Chris. About time. How are you?
I'm doing well, Kev. How about you?
I'm good. Just a quick story. We were almost with simulcast. We had a technical issue and almost had to do was live in on the Calgary airwaves today, but it was fixed just before I went on. So that would have been interesting. But yes. So we, of course, let's start with talking about the playoffs here, and kind of wanted to do a little bit of a retrospective, but maybe let's get the feelings of everybody here. How does it feel that the Vancouver Canucks are back back in the playoffs? No matter where you look at it, it's whether this has been 4 years, 9 years. I think we agree that it's been far too long for the Canucks not to be in the playoffs. I think 1 year is a little too long not to be in the playoffs personally, but how's everyone else feeling?
Yeah, I'll go first here on that one. I think it's just, it's about time, certainly. But the way things were going the last couple of years, this seems to be a little ahead of schedule, doesn't it? So now we're just like, well, how can they handle all of this sort of newfound success? And there's a lot that kind of surrounds a playoff run. Are the guys going to be focused? This is now the opportunity, knowing that they're going to be there, to really get their game rounded into form at the right time. But once the puck drops on that first playoff game, any of that regular season success is all in the past. It's a new story at that point, and they got to have it right away.
Yeah, I think the word I would choose is relieved. And yeah, like Tyler said, definitely feels a little bit ahead of schedule. I was expecting maybe this much regular season success next season, or maybe the season after that, as far as like the arc of contention, if you will, with this core and the current management staff and whatnot. But Yeah, a pleasant surprise, and I will ride this wave as long as it's there.
Sean?
Yeah, I'd say. Well, it's also the way they've done it. Being so far like taking the step that they took this year and being the first Canadian team to clinch a playoff spot ahead of the Jets, ahead of the Oilers, ahead of the Leafs. Like that's something we didn't expect. Like I think going into the season, I think all of us had a bit of a cautious optimism that maybe they'd be in the wild card hunt. They'd be in the like what the Capitals, the Wings, the Islanders, the Devils are all in. Like just trying to find a way into the playoffs, not being one of the first teams to clinch. Unfortunately, they weren't the first team to clinch. They had that opportunity, but it didn't happen. But I think it's the surprise is almost more how this has transpired this year. Tyler, you touched on it. Chris, you touched on it in a little bit there, but I think it's more the fact that they're potentially going to be the Pacific Division winners this year. They're at least in the battle for it, right? So then that's something that we did not think was even remotely close.
Yeah, because I think we all thought that they were a bubble playoff team, but to have home ice for at least a couple of rounds, if not all the way through, it's definitely a pleasant surprise for sure.
Yeah, you see, now with the whole home ice thing, like I'm a little torn with that. I'm not sure how much of an advantage that makes anymore. it almost has its downsides to it as well. But how awesome would it be if they're playing their first playoff game after all these years, other than the bubble, their first playoff game is at Rogers Arena, and you think of the towel power and the energy is going to crank up in the arena. It's exciting. You start getting goosebumps just thinking about it, actually.
Yeah, competitively, it's maybe not as much of an advantage as much anymore, like with how much parity there is in the league and all that. But yeah, like you said, with how long we've been out of the playoffs, it just brings that extra level of excitement.
Yeah, I'm getting excited. I mean, this is like I moved here to Vancouver from Calgary in 2015, and I haven't seen a playoff game here. I haven't had a chance to participate in the playoff folklore in Vancouver since I've been here. So it's a neat kind of going to be neat to see this from this perspective. And I think just for the community, I think it's going to be great. I think that there's, I don't want to go too far down this road, but I think, Tyler, in terms of on ice, it's a home ice advantage or not, I think is a good point that we'll break down on this. But I also think just from a business perspective, and including those in the restaurant industry and the craft beer industry, I know that there's a lot of passion from us on that. They could use the bump that this will bring, right? So the people are going to go out to those restaurants and eat the food, hopefully, and hang and do all of that. Because tickets are going to be a little pricey. We've already seen how much they are, and we won't. That's the price. So I think from that part, it's going to be excitement. I think from a fan base, I think that they're going to be. You're already seeing the fans get really loud and passionate already, and I think for the other thing too is there's a new generation of fans that haven't had the opportunity to enjoy a playoff run. I mean, really, 2015 was the last time they had that home playoff run, but it didn't last long. It was 6 games. 2011 was the last lengthy one. So it's 13 years since there's been something of true significance. Almost had something of significance in 2020 as well, but they were 1 game away from getting to the Western Conference Final. I mean, Thatcher Demko stood on his head. I think this is great for a new generation of Canuck fans to get involved in this too. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it.
There's been a little bit of discussion on the old X.com about whether there be some opportunities for fan viewing parties outdoors, and it's that might be a clue that some of the fan base maybe doesn't remember exactly how certain things went in 2011. I don't know if I think that might have been ruined with, unfortunately.
Well,
It would be awesome to have that, but I don't know if that's
let's keep it to smaller gatherings of like maybe 1,000 people max in a certain space, not 150,000 people down Georgia Street.
I think what I could see happening here in Metro Vancouver is every city has their own watch party. Like Surrey has a watch party, Richmond has a watch party, Vancouver has a watch party. It goes like that, as opposed to Chris bringing everybody down to Georgia Street. They do it all separately there.
Yeah.
I can see
the
that
CBC loved that. They had their screen outside, and it just kind of grew from there. And it was
I watched BX's goal in Game 5 against San Jose, watching that screen outside of the CBC headquarters.
Yeah. I think that's what I'm kind of seeing in terms of that. But like I'm seeing separate. I could see separate watch parties, and they're not going to have that big thing downtown. There's just no way that you can do it. And just, as a person sitting in a traffic anchor, I'm just going to say, for the love of God, don't do that. But anyway, but
in terms of the hospitality angle, I think especially within the context of a post like COVID gripped world, hospitality would absolutely love to have like constant amount of people just rolling in to watch the games for sure.
Yeah. By the way, I thought I would do something. Sean, did you have anything to add?
No, I'm in Calgary. I didn't get to really partake in that too much, but looking forward, it'll be awesome here in Calgary as well, because there is a good, passionate fan base here that definitely goes out and supports the Canucks at local pubs here.
As a former Calgarian, I second that.
Yeah, no, you go to those games, and I third that as well. Just for people to know, just some of the things that happened in 2015.
Horvat was a rookie.
Yes, he was. Jordan Spieth was, and Phil Mickelson had good masters, of course, for Devon. I'll do a bit of a trivia. Which Avengers movie or Marvel Avengers movie came out in April of 2015?
You're asking the wrong guy here.
And that's like one out of 40 some films at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I tap out on that one.
It was the Age of Ultron. And we also had Hillary Clinton entered the race for the Democratic leadership. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Bill Williams included in that. Country Hall of Fame, which I believe is more of Sean's care than Chris's, but Luke Bryan was won the Country Music Singer-Songwriter Award, so did Miranda Lambert, and Jason Aldean won a Country Music Award back then. So there you go. That's what happened in 2015, if anybody cares.
Much appreciated, Kevin.
Yes. Let's. The other thing, I guess, is some of the things that conversation has been in our chat has been about kind of what you bring from the olden days back into the Canucks playoff lore, and what is new, what may need to be new. And I think this is my perspective. I think that there's some nostalgic, I think, is always kind of fun. But as I talked about here, I think that you bring, you've got a new generation of fans here that I think will bring, I think I would like to see what the younger generation of fans bring forward as new traditions. I'm kind of curious what they will do. I mean, we had the U2 moments. We've had all that. We'd like to kind of hear what the new generation of fans bring in terms of music and kind of what their thoughts are. but I kind of want to hear what everyone else is at on that.
Well, first off, Kev,
Yes.
can we fix your framing here, please?
Oh, sorry.
Looks like you're drowning.
Oh,
There we go.
sorry.
A little more, a little bit
looking
more,
at
a
the
little bit
screen,
more.
and I have I'm kind of
Bring it down.
Okay,
Let's get it.
Okay. Anyway, sorry. I'm trying to look at things, and kind of my eyesight is not the best.
I'm sorry, Kev. I feel terrible when we sewer you like this.
Yeah. So, anyway, back to the point. What do we need to bring? What do we want to bring back?
I mean, I will generally say that I'm pretty like progressive in the sense of like embracing new things and like allowing stuff to evolve and stuff like that. But if there's one thing I might be a stick in the mud about, I'm very sentimental to Where the Streets Have No Name. That intro, especially used in the playoffs, for me, just it's part of my Canucks fandom that's always been there since I've been like a diehard fan once I got really into it in my teen years. So the fact that that's always kind of been our playoff anthem, if you will, I don't want to let that go. But I also can see that I might be the only one in our group that actually thinks we should keep that. So,
Sean?
I have no issues keeping it. I just think it's time. I think it's time to move on from that. I think it's time to build just a new feeling for a new team. There's no one left from all that other than the Sedins and Ryan Johnson who are in management now. So I think as nostalgic and good to look back on the Streets of No Name intro is. I want to see some. I just want to see something different. I want to see something and let this team who has a much different personality than the teams of the past build their own and build more new and more memories for whether it's the old crowd or the new crowd.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Sean and all of that. To me, the only thing that really needs to stay as a tradition that's been there since forever is towel power. What I'd like to see disappear is all of the. I'm going to say it. People are going to roll their eyes. I'd love all the tinfoil hatting over the fairness and the league to go away. That's probably asking too much, but other than that, I think in terms of game presentation, songs, video, hyping up, all that, the having been to some games in the last few years, albeit not playoff games, they've got some great people that put some great stuff together to get the crowd fired up for a game, and I'm sure they're going to do a great job of that with something new and something maybe more relevant to the current fan base.
Yeah.
go ahead, Kevin.
I would love to see them sample. Yeah, I'd love to see them sample the Streets of No Name to maybe start and then transition into something new. And then maybe transition out of that, but because it would feel good. It would bring the goosebumps up. Your hair stands on end. You get that feeling, but move on. Like if they can find a way and find the magic, especially this season, and go on a deep run, and they have a different song, that song will bring back those memories pretty quickly and give you the same feelings pretty quickly.
Go ahead, Chris.
Like I was going to add in the sense that, or at least piggyback in the sense of the complementing the in-game presentation that Tyler was talking about. Like, haven't been to too many games in the past decade, I suppose, in Vancouver, but the few that I have been to, and yeah, especially the last season or two, like they've really kind of upped their game as far as in-game entertainment and like the game presentation. So I do have full faith that they will do it well, regardless of what choices that they make. But yeah, I've already kind of said my piece. I'm a bit of a stick in the mud. I would like to keep with that song choice, but I can see that I'm not the deciding factor here.
I won't lose my mind if they go with it, but I think that's from an era that's gone by.
Like, and I guess in my defense, it's not just the 2011 team that used that. Even the West Coast Express team used that.
Yeah.
So it's been around for multiple decades. So like that's why I was saying, like, for me, it's like very much a part of my long-term fandom. And maybe that's why I'm as sentimental to it as I am.
Yeah.
That's totally fair. Here's what I want. If I could make one change, this would be it. I think we need to decide on a color and go with it. I don't think that Rogers Arena needs to look like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, I think they got to go with the standard blue look for the playoffs, but that's just me. One though is the right look, I think.
Ultimately, yeah, I think I agree in the sense that stick with the blue and green, especially given the fact that there are actually specific rules in terms of what jerseys you can use in the playoffs, and like basically you have to like stick with one. There is no like alternates or anything like that. So yeah, go with what this team is known for, even though there is obviously a diehard fan base behind the black skate jersey.
I'm waiting for Sean.
The Canucks colors are blue and green, and just because they're, again, nostalgia is a hell of a drug, and you've got a bunch of nostalgia nerds in Vancouver who just yell and scream about one or two things, and they're hipster haters as well, because the reason they hate the Orca logo is because it was a corporate logo back in the day. But guess what? Orca Bay Entertainment, Sports and Entertainment's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think this would be the soapbox for Sean.
And the blue and green is such a great color scheme. And I'm just as much as I do love the skate logo and the skate jersey and everything. For me, the Canucks are blue and green. Like that's the colors that they should be for me. And like it's just the other thing is like you could have the skate logo and the black skate jersey as your home jersey for the for the playoffs, but then you go on the road and you're wearing the white Orca jersey. Like, just consistency, people. Consistency. And if you want it, you do not want the Rogers Arena to be more decorated like a eclectic Christmas tree, then you need to stick with the color scheme that you have on the road and at home.
I like the black skate. I don't think I'm a corporate hipster nerd, though. I don't think that anyone would describe me as a hipster nerd. They would probably describe me as a nerd, but not a hipster. I don't think. I don't see that. But because I just think it's a more intimidating color. But I do see your point. You're not going to wear it on the road. If they went to a regular black skate, then sure. If it's blue and green, I don't have a problem with it. But ultimately, I do think they need to pick a color. They like it. I do think, like, if you go to Winnipeg, you get the white out. You go to Nashville, you'll get that color. I do think they need to pick a color.
And that's one thing Calgary does well, the sea of red. You know the Saddle Dome is going to be decked out in red.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's important for getting the fans to really buy into creating that atmosphere, right? You need a very defined look, and it's easy, right?
Yeah. Go ahead, Sean.
That being said, with the towels, with the towels, you do get this awesome visual with everyone waving the white the spinning the white towels there. You get that with that. You don't necessarily need to have everyone in a blue jersey, everyone in a black jersey to get that. You've got the towels, and it's visually stunning when that's done.
I think it's more visually stunning. I think it would be more visually stunning if it was one color, though. I think it would just make another level of that statement. I see what you're saying, but if you take it another level, that's where I would go. But Hey, at least we're talking about what jersey they should wear for the playoffs. Kind of think about, there we go.
Yeah, we're talking about playoffs, guys.
Playoffs. It's right in the title up on the top of the screen there. Playoffs, baby. Playoffs.
Well, let's get to the on ice stuff, because I do think that there is still, I think that people are happy, but I think there's been, going back to this week was a bit of a different week in terms of, it was a tough week. Of course, you had the loss to Los Angeles, you had the loss to Dallas, and you had the win against Anaheim, but there was a 2-goal lead blown, but Dakota Joshua saved the day. But there were a lot of line changes in the olden days. We called this the line jiggle. So what do we think of the line changes?
I think this is a case of a coach looking at the bigger picture. We've kind of talked about this before too. We're so used to, as Canuck fans, where they're just fighting like hell to get to the playoffs. Every game means so much. This year they've had a cushion. They've had some wiggle room to experiment. I know it seems maybe hard to understand why they would want to experiment when every game's so important, but really, I think there's some value to that pre-playoffs, that you've tried out some different stuff, because if something's not working, and in a 7-game series with matchups, you need to have some other ideas. What the coaches can't do is be out of ideas by the second playoff game, right, with their lineup. So I think that's why we're seeing that. And yeah, obviously there's going to be mixed results with that, but I think it's still worth trying when you have some wiggle room in the standings to do it.
Yeah, I basically.
And then you're also dealing with Elias Lindholm. Yeah, you've got Elias Lindholm out right now as well, which just throws a wrench into things. And you're trying to figure things out, how to make the lineup work with him as well as without him. And you're trying to get a lot of, like, the Canucks have been offensively haven't been as good as they have been early in the season. And they're just trying to find the offensive chemistry again with some of the players, and that's what we're seeing here. Dakota Joshua comes back, scores 2 goals against Anaheim, fantastic. But before I also want to ask, is it just me, or is like the 2 losses were 2 better games, team games by the Canucks than that game against the win against the Ducks?
The good old Torts moral victory, if you will.
I think the Anaheim game feels like they were trying to throw that one away a little bit compared to the others, but
it's almost like old school Canucksdom, in the sense of, like, the winnable games is where they stumble, and then they are able to bring up their A games against the more difficult teams.
Yeah, and they've been pretty good at not playing down to the competition this year, but the Sunday sure looked that way.
Mm-hmm. Especially, like you're talking about, in this sort of like lull, if you will, with the padding that they have in the standings, that there really isn't a urgency at this point of the stretch run, where normally, like, it's high stakes, like you have to win pretty much every game because your standings watching, as far as like which teams are winning, which teams are losing each game, and where that reflects where you are in the standings. Like, the Canucks don't have that pressure on them right now, so maybe they're kind of in a bit of malaise because of that.
I think that with the LA game, I don't know if I thought that I was necessarily impressed. I mean, I didn't think that, honestly, I didn't think that they were great against Calgary, to be honest with you. But I thought that they played okay against LA. I thought they got frustrated because of the way that LA plays. I thought that with Dallas, I think the experience of Dallas kind of overcame what Vancouver's experience, and we saw that before. And the Anaheim game it became a bit of a snooze fest because they were up 2-0, and it was a Sunday afternoon, Easter, and I felt like they had a lot of ham and potatoes in the middle of there. And Dakota Joshua kind of came, and Arthur Seeloff, let's not forget him. I thought their best game, probably of the 4, was probably ultimately Dallas, but. And I don't think, Tyler, I'll back you up, I don't think it was officiating that necessarily cost them the game. I mean, there was some there were missed calls, but not a great penalty by Teddy Bluger, and then it was special teams that was the issue during those two games against LA and Dallas. They were able to get the power play going against Calgary and Anaheim, but they weren't to get the power play going against LA and Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
That's my biggest issue is not the 5-on-5 play. And I think they played great 5-on-5 against LA, great 5-on-5 against Dallas, but both those teams played great against the Canucks. It was a war. That's what playoff hockey is. It's little margins, and I don't think there was anything where either Dallas or LA had anything massive against the Canucks, other than the fact. And if the Canucks had the power play going, it's a completely different story. So in terms of where the Canucks are at going into the playoffs, and this absolute again, we're going into the playoffs where everything is magnified. In Vancouver, where everything's already magnified, where every power play that they don't score on is it's the end of the world. The way I look at those games is they get one or two bounces, they win those games. They get a goal on the power play, they win those games. And then against the Ducks, it was sloppy. I think the Canucks played well for the majority of the game against the Flames, but got sloppy at points there as well. But in terms of a complete game, start to finish, outside of a couple bounces going against their way and calls going against their way, which happens. It happens. There's no need to make a big deal out of it, but it happens. They were right there. They were 1-goal games. And you get one bounce that goes for the Canucks. They win those games, and we're not talking about it as if they don't have an edge against these top teams.
Yeah,
that's just the way hockey is.
I think where some of the frustration comes from is typically this season the Canucks have been pretty good at as far as holding on to their leads, especially in the third period. Going into that third period with a lead, and then the fact that they basically allow the Ducks to kind of come back into that game. Yeah, that's where that frustration is kind of fed from.
Well, I think there's a few things that is causing some frustration here. The power play, I guess, is one of them. I think there's been a lot of criticism towards PD, OPD. Can we call him OPD? But I don't necessarily think it's been necessarily fair criticism on PD. I don't if you look back at that LA and Dallas game, I don't think any of their star forwards really dominated the game any more differently than the Canucks ones. I think it was the LA Vancouver game was it was battle that LA loves the mud. Vancouver went in the mud. And I don't know if I come back with the Dallas game, we're going, oh man, was Rupe hits the star of that game? Not necessarily. No, I don't. So I don't know if the criticism on him is necessarily fair. I think the criticism on the power play, I think, is valid because it is struggling right now. Got to figure out how that works. But they're
getting Dakota Joshua back in there.
Yeah, and they put him on PP1 on the practice today. So, the Canucks are not healthy right now. I think they're doing a lot of. They're in a position where they can. I'll take this back to just at a side note. When the Flames played the Oilers back a couple of years ago, and Chris Tanev got hurt. That really hurt them, not only because it was Chris Tanev, but because the Flames had to almost adjust their D pairings, and they had no idea how to play with each other. I think what Rick Tocchet is doing here is very smart, because what happens if there's an injury? What happens if, there's a whole bunch of situations that you got to start thinking about here. What happens if there's a game misconduct or a line matchup that doesn't work? How are you going to adjust in game? So I think experimenting with all of these guys and figuring out these lines at this point, sure, let's try it. Let's see what's going on. And then when you get into the playoffs, if you're playing let's just throw a scenario here. You're playing the Oilers. The Oilers are going to mix around McDavid and Draisaitl. It's quite likely they're going to try to play them together, and they're going to try to separate them. Then they're going to switch around those lines. You got to be prepared for that. LA does the same thing. They're going to be splitting. You got the Kopitar line. You got Kopitar. Danault will probably be back. You got a three-headed monster at center. Whether you like Pierre-Luc Dubois or not, he's a legitimate center in the National Hockey League. Nashville has some depth. It's going to be a battle. And look, you're not going to – these Canuck fans, prepare for a 7-game series in the first round, no matter who you are playing. It is not going to be easy. The West Division is going to be a battle, no matter who it is. And you have to be prepared for that. So I think what Rick Tocchet is doing is fine. My two biggest concerns I'm coming away with, the first one is the power play. The second one is there are too many players in the forward group that have gone far too long without a goal. Teddy Bluger, Pius Suter's got one in the last, 20, 30 games? I think the criticism of the offense of Elias Lindholm is fair. He's only got 2, but he's been injured. So they got to get some of these other guys some offensive confidence going into the playoffs, because you are going to need them to score.
Or at least hope that they show up once the playoffs come.
Yeah.
Sean?
I mean, if you look at how the teams played and all that, I think they're doing for the most part, they're doing a lot of the little things that lead to offensive chances and lead to goals. They just haven't been going in of late. So, and what I really like about what the Canucks have done here is defensively, they're fantastic. They've been amazing since the All-Star break, and they're not cheating to create offense. And I think that to me gives me more encouragement than the lack of offense from some of these players gives me discouragement. Like, I want to see the systems and the trust of the systems and the trust of your teammates and how you play the game going into the playoffs. And if you're playing the right way, the offense has a good chance at coming around here. And if you start cheating and you start playing like they did last season, as well as for the longest time leading up until this season, you're gonna just flush all this hard work away. So I think it's, in my opinion, I think they should just stick to their guns here, play stingy hockey, and if the power play can get going and can get like a goal a game or a goal every couple of games here, or even just take over a game at one point and win it for them, that'll go a long way in helping them win a series.
There are a number of power plays through time that have not necessarily been good. It's not about the percentage. I've heard this a few times, and I do like this concept. It's not about the percentage of success of the power play. It's when you get that power play goal. So you could be 1 for 8, but if you get that goal in the third period to put yourself ahead, it's fine. It's a power play goal, and you won the game. So yeah, but they do need to get that going. I think we're all in agreement on that one.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think even Rick Tocchet has said that he thinks that the power play is stale.
Yeah. Sorry, Sean, go ahead.
I think, they've shown spurts, and apologies for my delay here on this podcast. But the one thing is, Rick Tocchet also talked about how he felt that this long homestand made things a little stale. So I'm really interested to see how the Canucks do on this 3-game road trip, and then going in now, because and then after that, because staying at home that long, well, great for rest and all that, can again, we talked about urgency. We talked about just urgency. And I think the Canucks need to find that again. Like, as long as they're staying within their system and playing the defensive structure that they have been of late, they just need, if they can find that urgency, especially offensively and on the power play in particular, I think I'm not too. I won't be that worried going into the playoffs, even if the offense doesn't show up before they start the playoffs.
Well, it is an odd thing to look at a long homestand as a experience that could become stale, isn't it? But yes, it has been a while. See how they do on this road trip.
Definitely new perspectives this season, that's for sure.
We talked to we'll quickly touch on. I think Dakota Joshua, though, he does make a difference when he's in the lineup. Clearly, we saw that against Anaheim. And I think it's good that they're trying him on the power play. I think, that set the first goal he scored, like, that was a guy named Matthew Tkachuk tried that once too, and everyone was impressed with. That was some really good skill from Dakota Joshua. And then he got that last goal too. I think he's going to be an absolute fan favorite in the playoffs. I think this is going to be one guy that a lot of people Canuck fans are going to love. And there's going to be a lot of messages on X from from opposing fan bases that are not going to like Dakota Joshua. And I'm just going to tell you, sorry, deal with it. Dakota Joshua is a beast.
Yeah. He's not going to be as polarizing as maybe a Rafi Torres, but he's going to bring that sort of aspect to the Canucks in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, he knows how to toe the line.
Yeah, he's not the human cannonball that Torres was in 2011.
Yeah.
And Niels Höglander too. I mean, I think it's time to start. It's time to start talking about this guy as maybe he's not necessarily the core like Pettersson, Hughes, Miller, Demko, but he's a core member of this team. 23 goals this year, all even strength. He drives play. He's incredibly skilled, and he's also going to be a nasty piece of business that I think that a lot of opponents are not going to like at all.
Höglander's been a great success story of what the Canucks have tried
That's
to do.
what I love about Höglander.
Yeah. He's been a great success story as far as what they've been trying to do with bringing the AHL team into Abbotsford and under the Canucks ownership and trying to improve the whole development part of the organization. They sent him down there. He remade his game. He's come back and God, it was a huge loss not to have him now, right? And it's great for Niels. It's great for the team. And Vasily Podkolzin spent not the same level of success, obviously, but he spent some time in the NHL, and now he's back with the Canucks, and that they've got a piece there they can count on when they need to turn to him. So, hopefully, we see some more examples of that.
Yeah, it's definitely a very encouraging thing to see as far as from the local development side sort of thing, what they've been doing with both Hoagie and Pods. I think if Hoagie can keep this up for several seasons, I could see him like what Jannik Hansen was to that like 2011 era of the Canucks, like not quite a core piece, but was a prominent like accent feature, like just outside of the core. I could definitely see Hoagie kind of working himself into that sort of role.
I don't disagree.
I actually see him as a step above that. The way he played, and he's starting to show some chemistry with Petey, and he's already like Jannik Hansen was more of a third line guy. Höglander's starting to show that he could probably be a true top six forward here. So I think he's actually sort of a step above. I think Dakota Joshua is that sort of Jannik Hansen sort of level of being like that nice accent onto your lineup, who can play up and down the lineup.
Yeah, just to clarify,
the way Höglander's playing, and he maybe short. Yeah, go for it, Chris.
Yeah, just to clarify a little bit, I was more so talking about like kind of not where he fits in the lineup as far as like what line he's on or style of play, but more like not part of the core, but kind of like a prominent person that is like well liked by the fan base, kind of is used in marketing, but is not considered like one of the core pieces. I feel like Jannik Hansen was kind of just outside of the core, but was well loved, was there for a long time. I was more so talking in sort of that respect, not where he kind of fits in the lineup.
I would say
the way I look at Höglander with how he is more of a top six guy, he's just a step above where even what you're saying there, Chris. Like between like sort of he would be sort of Alex Burrows minus the fact that Burrows was like a top line player. Like he's second line right now and not as didn't quite get. He's not going to quite get there. Not to mention the fact that Burrows is such a beloved figure as well. Like that's
minus the fact that he was the third city.
If you fit him between the two, I think that's you fit him between the two. I think that's where Höglander has the potential to be.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. I guess the next step in this is, of course, the standings and where, now playoffs. So we know that there's going to be a home game. The question is going to be where they fit. And as we speak here at the end of the second, for those that are listening after, the Oilers are up on the St. Louis Blues 1-0. They are, you can argue, you can make all the arguments about where the Oilers are. The fact of the matter is they're currently 4 points behind the Canucks. They have been very interesting stretch right now where they're playing 4 games in 5 nights. But the Canucks and the Oilers do play on February the 12th. First question, how important is it that the Canucks finish first?
April.
Second question, how important is it that they clinch it before they face the Oilers, who they've already beaten twice, beaten already 3 times this year, before with the Oilers' disastrous start? How important is it that the Canucks clinch this before February 12th?
Sorry, you mean like clinch the Western?
Clinch the Pacific Division title.
Okay. Yeah, like I think it's fairly important that I guess to concede what Tyler's point was earlier in the sense that maybe it's not statistically as much of an advantage anymore, but I feel maybe just for pride level, like I think the Canuck fan base would love for the fact that they could solidify that before that game, but I'm not sure if it's the end all be all as far as what we need to accomplish to be a quote unquote successful team this season.
Yeah. Also, just to clarify, it's the Canucks are 6 points up on Edmonton. Edmonton's got 2 games in hand. I think it's important just because then you can there's more flexibility with what you can do with the lineup for the final couple games, and rest some players that may need to be rested, and not necessarily that means not dress them, but not play them as much in those games,
not ride them as hard.
And then it's also you can. It's just I think that's the big one there. Like the sooner you can clinch the division, the sooner you can start rolling 4 lines for most of the games and not feel like you have to rely on Quinn Hughes or Petey or Miller specifically as much as you would if you're still battling it out for that. So I think that's the big reason why you would want to clinch it more sooner than later. Not to mention there is that the pride aspect of it, and you want to make sure that McDavid and Draisaitl don't have another division title under their belts.
They don't have a division title under their belts yet, though.
Even in the seasons they've been more dominant.
Yeah,
they've not won a division title since it's been a while. I got to look that up, but it's been a while since the Edmonton Oilers have actually won this division. Crazy to think about that. Anyway, Tyler, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess maybe Vegas was still ahead of them in those seasons that I remember them being a little bit more dominant then.
I mean, if we want to go straight petty and just say it's about not letting Edmonton have a division title, there is some merit to that, I think. But more,
Tyler, I'm proud of you that you've taken a Devon level of pettiness. Thank you.
Now we can have that in common as a dislike of the Oilers. But I mean, obviously, there's the possibility of more playoff games and home games, and therefore, there's the financial benefit of that. There's the travel of that, component. There's some value there to having home ice advantage. Line matchups obviously is the biggest thing, but at this point, aren't we just happy that they're there? Right? Well, it's going to come down to who they're matched up against, less as to where they're starting the series, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, I guess my one thing I would say though is the Oilers would, in terms of momentum, you look where the Oilers started. They fired Jay Woodcroft. They bring in Chris Knobloch, and then they've been on this roll. And you come down from basically the basement of the Pacific Division to the top of the Pacific Division. That is a lot of momentum that the Oilers can carry into the playoffs. I think if the Canucks snuff that makes this very different for the Oilers coming into this playoff. I think they come in with a bit of a different swagger. So for me, I don't know if it's as much about the Canucks momentum as derailing the Oilers momentum.
Yeah, and especially with the potential, or at least right now, if the playoffs started right now, the fact that the Canucks would face the Predators, and the fact that the Predators have had 2 losses in a row after their long winning streak. So, like you're saying, like if we can stop any momentum that they might have just before the playoffs begin, yeah, it definitely works in our favor.
Yeah. Anyway, hang on here. Sorry. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I think would it be fun to have an Oilers Canucks second round? Yes, but let's get through the first round.
I'm not mentally prepared for that one yet.
I don't think anybody is, Tyler.
No. That's asking for a lot right now.
Let's get through round 1. Let's breathe through that, and then we'll get through round 2.
Also, just as far as like timing is concerned,
yes. Take it game by game, round by round.
Yeah. If we end up facing them in the second round, I'm actually going to visit my 2 best friends from high school in late May in Edmonton. So just as far as like timing is concerned, oh God, that'd be a fucking shit show.
Yeah. We'd have to for sure cut off all communication with Graham Moseman. Yeah. So, but in terms of anything else with the Canucks that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention here, we'll get into some of the news items here. But
I think maybe as far as the Canucks directly are concerned, maybe we want to talk about the team award voting.
Oh yeah, thank you. Forgot about that. Yeah, team awards. MVP, I think for me, that's JT Miller. I think he's just had the most consistent year. But I think an honorable mention should go to Quinn Hughes, who's also been outstanding this year. But my MVP is JT Miller.
Yeah, I have to agree. Overall consistency, you got to give it to JT Miller. But that being said, full credit to where it's due that both Petey and Quinn especially have shone quite brightly at certain points this season. And I'll even throw Demko into that conversation as well. But yeah, overall consistency, I think you got to give it to Miller.
Miller, hands down, JT Miller MVP for me for this year.
If we're talking No. We're talking about a clean sweep for Quinn Hughes this year on 3 awards. Best defenseman, of course, MVP, and most exciting player.
It's definitely my most exciting player.
You want to talk consistency? That's been Quinn this year.
Yeah.
No, I'll give Quinn 2 out of the 3, but not 3.
The consistency, as much as good as JT Miller has been, I think Miller will probably get it just because people will do that. want to spread the wealth around, but to me, I think the MVP is Quinn Hughes. Like he drives the play for this team. He creates more offense, and his defensive play has gotten so much better. Like he's turned into Scott Stevens for fuck's sakes.
Even doing big open ice hits now. Yep.
Just like I look at that and I just, as good as Miller was, and has been, like, to me it's Quinn Hughes. Like that. This is his team, and you go from there. Like first season as captain, and I think he more than deserves to win all 3 of those awards.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a strong argument. I mean, you have to think too, like, heaven forbid something happened to the guy. Like, what would it be like without him, right? Like, it's just amazing. Like, Quinn Hughes is in his own category as far as, when you watch him play with everybody else.
I will say this. I still have Quinn Hughes as one of my considerations for the Hart Trophy, and I think he should win the Norris. I think it'll be an interesting battle. So I'll say that, but I mean, it's between Hughes and Miller for me. And I won't be outraged if either one of them win.
Yeah, Hughes is definitely, I would say, a relatively close second for team MVP for sure.
And then most excited, I think we'll agree. Unsung, Sean, I have to give you some credit, but to me, I still don't think Patrick Allvin is getting enough credit, even in this market, for the job that he's done. We keep referring to Jim Rutherford. It's Jim Rutherford. It's Jim Rutherford. What did Jim Rutherford do before? Well, he did this before. Patrick Allvin is not getting enough credit. Like, yes, I know that Jim Rutherford is the overseer and he's sort of the face of this general manager group, but Patrick Allvin went in and made some trades when nobody could make trades. And he started shuffling the deck around here and signed some really shrewd free agent moves. I don't think to me, I know that this is a vote that is supposed to be a player. I'm going to not vote a player. I'm going to vote Patrick Allvin is the unsung hero of this organization. He is not getting enough credit in the market. He's not getting enough credit.
As someone who's already done some voting on this, I will let you know he's not officially on the ballot, but I do see where you're coming from.
I don't care. He's my vote.
I was going to go with Ian Cole.
Kevin pulling a full-on Kevin here and like going outside the box.
Yes, there's the box, and then
Kevin's over there.
Over here.
I mean, for me, unsung hero.
All right, now Kevin. Chris, sorry. I want Kevin to answer for the skaters. Unsung player.
Okay, fine. You know what? Actually, I'll throw a vote for Casey DeSmith. Because Demko went down. This could have been an absolute disaster. I mean, yes, the Canucks had the cushion, and Demko is close to coming back, and maybe the schedule was easy, all of that. But Casey DeSmith more than held his own against some really good teams. They didn't get blown out with Casey DeSmith in the lineup. I'm actually going to go with Casey DeSmith as the skater.
It's not a bad choice.
All right.
Fair enough.
Now Chris can go.
Yeah. I'll concede the fact that he's had quite a hell of a season. So I'm not sure what the exact definition of how unsung, but as far as maybe a most improved or biggest surprise sort of aspect on it or angle on it, I think I'd go with Niels Höglander.
Yeah. Definitely most improved or best, biggest comeback story, or I don't know what phrasing you'd want to use, but yeah, he went from being, not much of a discussion to being a huge impact on this team.
From a full-time AHLer to a 20-goal scorer.
Yeah. That is, that's
all at 5-on-5, mind you.
That's not getting the attention it deserves, when you put it like that.
Yeah, like it would be one thing if they threw him on the power play and he was getting a lot of power play points. No, he's doing this at 5-on-5.
Yeah, it's true. Sean, Tyler, who were your votes? I didn't hear.
I was going to go
Tyler?
with Ian Cole. Do you having an old veteran on defense like him? He's just been pretty steady. You know, you just that type of role when you're it's kind of just unnoticeable. That's kind of good on defense sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the opposite of the Tyler Myers. There's a degree of stability that comes with him, and I'd throw a vote there. But you know, that's not to diminish Casey DeSmith or Niels Höglander. Those are great choices as well.
And to actually add on to that real quick before Sean gives his pick, just the fact that Ian Cole has been on, I think, a 9-season streak of being on a playoff team, and the fact that we got him this season and we're now in the playoffs.
Yeah. He's been a class act for the organization. For sure.
For me, it's Connor Garland.
Yeah.
Connor Garland. Who do you put on the line to fix it? Connor Garland.
Yeah.
And from talk about the stories of this season, from where he was to start the season, asking for a trade, to now being where he's at now, being such an integral part to this team. I think to me it has to be Connor Garland. You look at what he's done, and like I said, he's the fixer. You put him on the line to fix the line.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that are like the ones that we're kind of focusing on are all the undersized ones who have to like work extra hard to prove themselves, whether it's Quinn, whether it's Niels, whether it's Connor.
Yeah. Have a bit of heart there. Yeah. Masterton nominee, just to throw it out, I don't think there's anybody other than Brock Besser in my mind that should get that. I just think the way I'll say it again, I don't think that should be an individual NHL award, but just give it to everyone. 32, this is your congratulations, you're the Canucks Masterton winner, and go away. My vote would be for Brock Besser, but
hard to disagree.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah. All right. We'll touch on a couple of other quick news items here. The Abbotsford Canucks, let's not forget them. They clinched a playoff spot this weekend, so they will have some playoff games. That will be great for that barn. I mean, they've had playoff games before, but you know what? Vancouver Canucks, Abbotsford Canucks in the playoffs at the same time. That's great. I think that's awesome in this market. That's really cool. And the Canucks signed Ty Mueller to an entry-level contract. He was a 4th-round pick of the Canucks in 2023. So he signs his entry-level deal there. So that is and we should mention the Canucks in the Frozen Four as well. We've got
Canucks representation on 3 out of the 4 in the final in the Frozen Four. Yeah.
Yes. Tom Willander as part of Boston University. Sorry, I got to go through my list here. Sorry, I just
as someone else Aiden Celebrini.
Yeah, go ahead. If you've got it, go ahead.
Well, it's Tom Willander and Aiden Celebrini on Boston University. Jack Malone on
Boston College, who got the overtime winner against Quinnipiac.
Boston College. Yes, and then you've also got J.P. Trescott on Michigan.
Yeah. So good luck to them. That starts on April 11th and 12th. So that is that. Anything else with the Canucks that we need to talk about?
I think we exhausted that at this point.
Oh, all right. Just wanted to be sure.
Yeah. We just hope for some continued refinement of their game here down the final stretch, and we look forward to seeing Thatcher Demko back. I guess it should be noted there was some. I guess initially he wasn't going to make the trip, but it looks like maybe he did get on the charter. So that perhaps that's encouraging. But I would be surprised if we see him play on the road trip.
Yeah, I would too, actually.
Perhaps see there's back.
I mean,
to
the fact
backs
that he's
here. Was it
going
Tuesday, Wednesday?
kind of changes that for me. But yeah, I think So,
so we'll see Bob's against Arizona.
as long as he plays the first game back from the road trip, at the very least, like, yeah, I won't have any concerns.
All right, so let's get into other NHL, which I want to start with the hipster, John Hines, who was trying an idea. He tried it a couple of times. It worked once. It did not work against the Vegas Golden Knights. He pulls the goalie to try to get that win, and the Vegas Golden Knights score in the empty net, and the Wild lose a point for that. I think the chat that came up in the chat, we beat Kevin Bieksa to the question, why is this rule into place?
I don't know. It's we've never really heard anybody officially explain it. I wonder if when the whole loser point thing came in, this has always been there. The Canucks did somewhat famously, I guess, back at the time, but I think they were trying to make the playoffs in the 99-2000 season. They needed 2 points at the end. They pulled the goalie. They ended up losing. So this did come up with the Canucks once in the past. I don't know. I suppose it was meant to not make the 4-on-4 overtime a bit of a mockery, as it was back then. Now 3-on-3. If there was no, like, if you get the loser points secured, and then you got teams just pulling the goalie cost. I don't know if there was some concern around that. That seems like a real stretch. I'm just throwing it out there, but
maybe just to keep a form to the game as opposed to just reckless abandon.
I can't come up with any other reasons why you would put that in.
Yeah, and I also don't understand it as a strategy, to be honest with you. Like, why are you pulling your goalie in overtime?
Well, if you're really behind in the standings and you need every possible point, then I guess.
But the team in front of you isn't losing a point for this. You're losing the point.
Well,
but from Minnesota's perspective, they don't care how many points Vegas gets because Vegas is essentially already a playoff team. Minnesota is that last team that it hasn't been eliminated from playoff contention in the West at this point. So they're just doing it out of pure desperation. So they don't really care if Vegas gets 1 point. They just know that they need 2.
Yeah, and they're trying to improve their chances of getting there, and especially in a 3-on-3 where it can kind of be a bit of a crapshoot. I don't know. Is this an analytics department telling them to do this?
Yes.
It sure has that feel, isn't it?
Yes.
You read between the lines as to how you think I feel about that.
Oh, Kevin's upset about the analytics again.
Well, I feel like this could easily be a tangent
as well.
We don't need to go
We're
down.
on the same team on this one. So.
Yes, we are. Yes.
Honestly, I think my only issue with it is, like, if you're going to make that call, and Jeff Merrick's been on this since the first time that Minnesota did it. Be ballsy enough to do it when in regulation.
Yeah.
I'm with him. Actually, I'm 100% with him. And I don't think it makes any sense to do it in overtime.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if you guys have seen the comments here, but I think
who did they do it against in the first one?
That was who was that? Is it Nashville? There's a great question Dylan raised in the comments here. I think he should probably throw it there just for discussion.
But what, this one?
Yeah, maybe that. I mean, in terms of the Wild's motivation here, I mean, I don't think that's been put out there on record. They certainly probably wouldn't want to have that thrown out there, but
they can't win a shootout.
That's interesting. That's an interesting one. I'm sure there's been times in the Canucks history where it's like, oh God, we don't want the shootout. You just don't feel good about the shootout. Again.
And just
it was against Nashville. Like,
yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
It was against Nashville. Yes. Did I miss any other questions? Or
So they're against teams that they're chasing. So if you actually want to make the most ground up, you should be doing this in regulation before the other team clinches a point. That's like if it was against a team that you're not chasing and you're just looking for points, I can completely understand doing it in overtime. You and hoping that you can get it. But if you're trying to chase down Nashville or Vegas, it makes no sense to allow them to get that extra point.
Yeah,
like earlier in the season when it was against Nashville, I can see it maybe being more of a structured strategy, if you will. But against Vegas this late in the season, that was just pure desperation move.
Yeah.
It
does. Yes, it is at that point probably.
I mean, I guess going forward, if you want teams to do
I think that's just they're far enough behind that. Sorry, Kev, go.
What I was gonna say was, if you want teams to do this more, you got to say, okay, if you pull the goalie, you get 2 points, and you score, you get the extra point, and the other team loses a point if the team that has the empty net scores in overtime. If you want to make it that way, then if they score, they get an extra point. So it becomes a 3-point win. Or it becomes like Minnesota would get 2 points and Vegas would have lost a point. Then you make that a little bit more interesting. But I don't know. Anyway.
Sean's face says it all, I think, right now.
No, he doesn't like that. Okay.
That is a big no, dog, Kevin. No, we're waving it off. That's it.
Well, no, that's why.
That's a galaxy brain idea there.
It would be fitting of the NHL to do that, considering that there even is a system right now with loser points and not all games being equal. So I'll give you that much of it, but no. Okay. No.
No. And I think that kind of puts a pin in this topic at least.
So a friend of mine at work walked by him. He kind of has that face like Devin because he's a big Leaf fan. He looks at me and he goes, "Did you know Austin Matthews has scored 60 goals in 2 of the last 3 seasons?"
That's
he has
such a Leaf
big
fan.
smile on his face. Like, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I still don't know if he's better than Ovechkin all time, but
do
sure.
Leaf fans even care about winning playoff games? Like really? It's about the stats and about contracts and roster moves, and I don't know. I'm exaggerating here, but
because they've given up hope of any playoff success at this point.
Oh boy.
Well, when you look at what the Leafs have to go through this playoff, they either have to face Boston or they have to face Florida.
And both are, pretty scary teams, at least at this point of the season. Yeah.
Honestly, you talk about on the box.
There's boogeymen. Boogeymen.
Go ahead, Sean.
No, go for it there, Kev.
I'm probably going to get waved off here. But I honestly think the Leafs can beat Boston. I don't think they can beat Florida, but I think they can beat Boston.
You've been waved off once. You wait for the ejection. No, I think that's reasonable.
Is it time for Toronto to slay their dragon?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, that's the way I see it. I think Florida's the tougher of those.
Just so they can lose to Florida in the second round.
Yeah, I don't think they can get. Although I think Tampa is going to make things very interesting for teams in the Eastern Conference.
Regardless of how this plays out, I don't think Toronto's going to be chanting "We want Florida" again.
Yeah, no recommendation of that. Yeah.
God, you just
No.
don't pick your opponent. That is just the
But also,
Go ahead, Sean.
But also with Matthews scoring 60, what does this mean for the Hart race? You've got McKinnon, Kucherov, McDavid, and Matthews as the front runners, right? Is it an actual 4-horse race this year?
I mean, I would argue it's probably the most competitive Hart race we've seen in quite some time. Normally, there's one player that kind of runs away with it. So the fact that there's like these 4 players have all had really dominant seasons in kind of their own unique angle, unique way of doing it. Like whether it's being just an all-around horse like McKinnon, whether it's being basically one of the greatest players in the game currently with McDavid, obviously Matthews and his goal-scoring prowess, like Kucherov just being kind of the Datsukian jackknife almost while still putting up points. Yeah, it's really hard to kind of give a clear favorite at this point, at least for me.
I've got 5.
Who's your addition?
Yossi should be in the conversation too.
He's definitely snuck into the conversation for sure.
Although
I'm just not sure if his story has gotten quite as maybe.
I think it'll come down to those 4.
I think you're right. It is, but
what he means to that team, yeah, it's hard to disagree as far as what Yossi has contributed to Nashville.
it's going to be, I mean, I think from Matthew's perspective, it's going to be a hard argument to back-to-back 2 out of 3 seasons, 60 goals to not give him the award, but I can't give it. I still think for me, it's still Nathan McKinnon. It's hard for me to argue against Nathan McKinnon, but I think the Oilers fans are going to argue for McDavid. I think Leaf fans will argue for Matthews, and I think Kucherov makes a really solid argument. But I think for me, it's Nathan McKinnon.
It's hard for me to see a final 3 that's not McKinnon, Matthews, and McDavid. But I try hard not to expend much energy on speculating Hart Trophy voting and everybody's motivations around that. So. I'll defer to you guys on that.
It really is more subjective in the sense of like it depends on how you value their contributions, like whether like the 4 different styles of what I was talking about earlier.
Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, that's what I love about the Hart Trophy, and I see it every year. You see some media members all complain that they want it to be the most outstanding player, but it's. I love the subjectivity of most valuable player that the Hart is, and yeah, I haven't done enough research and thought on it, but I do think it's a 4-horse race this year. Roman Josi may sneak in there, but I just don't think I don't think he came on too late. I think it's going to be, I think it'll be one of those 4. And I honestly agree with Tyler. I just think with the size of markets and it being the Canadian factor, I think it will be the 3 finalists will be the M names, McDavid, McDavid, McKinnon, and Matthews.
Yeah. We had a 60-goal scorer. We had 2 new 50-goal scorers.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Ryan. Sorry.
Yes.
Zach Hyman joined the 50-goal club, and we all now wonder what his worth is because of a Venn diagram. Anyway, and Sam Reinhart joined the 50-goal club. I thought it was interesting. I don't really want to talk about the video because I think we all agree the video is silly and stupid. But there was other criticism towards Zach Hyman. I saw someone point out where all of his goals were scored, which was around the blue paint. Do you know who would appreciate that the most? Rick Tocchet, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Look, you know the saying. There's the phrase out there. They don't ask how, they ask how many. You know, getting over 50 for any NHL player is a very impressive accomplishment. Good for those guys. That's all there is to say about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have great
That
line mates
might-
and you
where's the hardest
from
place
the-
on the ice to get to?
Front of the net.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I will remind everybody, during history, Dave Andrechuk, former Toronto Maple Leaf, got his way into the Hall of Fame because he was excellent in front of the net. Tim Kerr, by the way, was a power play specialist, if you want to criticize Sam Reinhart. And so, like, who cares?
Yeah.
They got 50 goals. Celebrate it. What else was there before? What else I wanted to get to?
That was it for NHL, but the last thing that you had on the agenda was talking about the Merit Centennials.
Yes. This is becoming a really confusing story with the BCHL, the AHL, and now the Kootenay Junior A Hockey League. Of course, the AHL, number of teams went and joined the BCHL. Of course, the beginning of the story was the BCHL left Hockey Canada, but now the AJHL lost a bunch of teams, and then this was, of course, for next year, but the AJHL basically suspended the teams that moved to the BCHL for the rest of the year. And now a lot of this due to the COVID, Chris, you talked about COVID and recovery. The Merit Centennials faced that as well, and they've moved to the Kootenay Junior A Hockey League. I really do feel that this story is very confusing. I think that there's been a lot of there's been not been a lot of enough clarity, but there's been a lot of confusion and rumors about what has happened. But I really think this is something that I want to dig into more, because I think that becomes a really big issue for 3 leagues going forward of what's happening here. So I think this is something where it's not getting enough attention. I'm really curious about here.
Yeah, so you used the phrase "move." It's to be more specific, more technical about it. It's not a move per se. This is my understanding of it from reading last night. The BCHL, the long-standing, 51 years of history with the Merit Centennials, that was a community-owned franchise, and they've deemed it to be not viable anymore. Their board of directors made that conclusion, and they're shutting down after this season. They're going to play out the playoff run, but that's it. It just, going forward, they just can't make a go of it as a community-owned junior hockey team. Now, there is a private ownership group that wants to go into the KIJHL, which is the old Junior B League, now Junior A League in BC, and so they've been granted an expansion franchise with the same name. So it's really 2 franchises. One will step in and replace the other in Merit, same facility, provided a junior hockey playing opportunity in Merit, but in a different league, and one that's under the Hockey Canada banner. So that's the basics of what's happening there. But really, it comes down to the community ownership aspect of it's just not working anymore, which is disappointing, because that's a franchise with so much history.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, just to kind of add on to Kevin's kind of angle there, is that I feel like we only see like the big headlines about like the announcement of whether it's the AJHL teams moving to the BCHL or the Centennials joining the Junior A League. But these junior leagues don't really get all that much real reporting. So there's kind of an air of mystery as to like the machination and minutia of why these decisions happen. And due to that lack of reporting, it's hard to really fully understand it in like a full context of like how we know basically every detail of every situation when it comes to larger leagues and that have substantially more reporters kind of digging into the details.
Sean, I'll wait for you.
I don't really have much else to say on this one. It sounds like there's still going to be junior A opportunities for players to have. But yeah, the whole BCHL, AJHL issue is something that we can definitely. I feel like it is a really good topic to dig into in the off season.
Yeah.
It's confusing for sure. I also just I just want to also point out Landon DuPont, 14 years old, has been granted exceptional status to play in the WHL. So congratulations. That is the second player in history to have that, behind, of course, Connor Bedard. Everett has the first pick. So we'll probably see him drafted quite early. And yeah, that's another exciting thing. And, I kind of want to make a joke to the Tankathon is you can build your franchise look forward for your franchise build in 4 years here, 2020, 2028. If you keep tanking, got a shot.
You had to get a tank reference in at the end. Hey?
Sorry. Sean is calling out Canuck crybabies. I'm going to call out tank or what I don't have a nickname. Tankathonists.
Yeah. It's fair enough.
Anything else we need to discuss? Is there one last question or?
We're at an hour and 25 minutes.
I would say there's two topics I think just need to have just to keep an eye on in the ECHL, the Toronto Riviera Lions and the Newfoundland Growlers may be shutting their doors, unfortunately, pretty quickly here. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. And then the sort of big news that the potential rumor that we just saw coming just before we came on was that sounds like Rogers and Amazon are in discussions to transfer the Monday Night Hockey rights to Amazon for the final 2 years of the Rogers national package. So that was from YYZ. Was it? So I can get that right.
YYZ Sports Media.
It was from.
Yep.
Who posted it earlier? Yes, exactly. Yeah, he posted that earlier, so that's something to watch for in potential news going forwards as well.
Before we go, I just wanted to offer a little congratulatory note from senior hockey. The Koi Cup Provincial Championship was held last week in Powell River. Terrace River Kings, after many appearances of falling short, they were 6 times runners-up. They did claim the title over the Powell River Regals on Saturday night in a triple overtime affair. The guys have been having a tough time getting back from Powell River, evidently, so I don't even know if they're even back in Terrace here yet, but congratulations to all involved there. Some of those guys have been involved a very long time, notably Stephen Cullis, 17 seasons, over 300 games played, and finally gets to lift that trophy. So congratulations to all from the Terrace River Kings, making a little history for our town last weekend.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Wow.
A very tough trophy to win. That's if you talk to anybody that's played in senior hockey in the various leagues or just with independent teams around the province over the years, that's a difficult trophy to win, as evidenced by the River Kings knocking at the door many times, but only once now finally breaking through.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Okay. Let's leave it there. We did a pretty extensive conversation and a pretty good time, I would say, overall. How do we follow everyone?
Let Sean go first.
I am Bearded Canucks 03 on the social medias.
I'm on x.com at tnoble, T-N-O-B-L-E. I'm
on most of the social media sites at Schneids.
Devin, he's coming back. This is our wrestling tease. This is an example of a wrestling tease as we talk about WrestleMania week. Wrestling tease. Devin is coming back. Gordhouse 09. By the way, I just want to mention for the Flame fans out there, or for anyone that is interested, Fireside Podcast did a very different podcast this week. And I will encourage you to listen to it. It's rather unique what they've tried to do. But you can follow them at Fireside Chat. And you can follow me, KEVOLE, Shifts and Bucks, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Subscribe wherever you get your audio. And we thank everyone for watching. We thank you all for listening. We thank all the questions. And hit that like, hit that retweet, and show us some love out there. And we will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.